Oh, and I apologize, I didn't actually show off many of the Persian voices at all. You know what, I guess I'll just stay on that as we go on to Wonder Race. Now, you'll notice that the moment we chose Wonder Race, a whole lot of options disappeared. We can no longer select teams. We also can't choose the lock teams option, because teams are locked by default in this mode. Wonder Race mode is, well, very, very, very unique. Probably the single most unique type of game in all of the standard games. And you'll see why in a moment. I'm going to go with the Persians again, because I didn't actually get to fully show off what I was going to show with them. So, Wonder Race. Now, a Wonder Race is extremely interesting for a number of reasons that we will notice if I manage to move this scout cavalry to an enemy settlement. In fact, before we do that, let's go ahead and check the diplomacy settings to find out who our enemies were. Wait a minute, did I say enemies? I mean, allies? We're allied with them, and we're locked out. We can't change our stance with them at all. Yes, Wonder Race is a completely non-violent mode. So for all you moral guardians out there who are concerned about video game violence ruining our youth and the like, oh, this is an island map, isn't it? Yes, it is! Looks like I won't be able to show that off at all. Yeah, that's annoying. But, pretty much, every single player on the map counts as allied with each other. There is no combat whatsoever, although you can still kill animals. So, yeah, not exactly RSPCA friendly, but anyway. Basically, no violence against humans whatsoever in this mode. Basically, as per its name, the first player to build a wonder is the player who wins this style of game. So basically, you have to focus all your efforts on building a strong economy. Now, technologies that increase economic gathering, like double-bit axe and the farm technologies, all of them really useful. Food will help you get more villages, which will help you build the wonder faster once you actually get into the Imperial Age. And of course, yes, you still need to advance through the ages, but you have no military units or anything like that. So all technologies like blacksmith technologies that benefit barracks units and the like, and all military units in fact, completely useless. Bombard tower, useless. Masonry and architecture, useless since no one will be attacking buildings. Heated shot, useless. Murder holes, useless. Treadmill crane, actually insanely useful. Unfortunately, the Persians don't get it. Now, what's interesting is that you actually can use trade cards still, but that would require one of your opponents to build a market, and really, as building a market in this mode really only lets you give your opponent an extra way to get more gold. Probably not a smart idea to actually build a market, but anyway. Now, since we never actually get to use the Persians in any campaign scenarios, I'll say this one more thing before I finish my explanation of Wonder Race. I've pretty much said everything I need to do. Just get as much resources as possible, then build a wonder, basically. But the interesting thing about the Persians is, the Persians are the only civilization who... There are one of two civilizations who doesn't get the full swordsman line, but the Persians are especially unique. They don't even get two-handed swordsmen. They stop at long swordsmen, and their swordsmen just end there. However, they get every cavalry unit available. The Persians are completely focused around cavalry. Their infantry is, well, their infantry are pretty terrible. They can only go up to long swordsmen, and they do have the full spearman line, but they're only really effective against enemy cavalry anyway. They do get all the archery range technologies, and they do get decent, well, at least okay range troops. They get hand cannoneers, and that's it. But they do get everything from the stable, which is mainly... They also get most things from the dock, so that's very useful. Their monastery technologies are a little lacking. They, again, don't get redemption or atonement, which means their monks cannot convert other monks or buildings. But the main thing the Persians get is this. War elephants. The Persian unique unit is hands down the strongest unique unit in the entire game. However, they are not without their flaws. They're insanely expensive, very, very slow, and for some reason ludicrously easy for monks to convert, and you really don't want them used against you, believe me. Persian war elephants are absolutely devastating. They're basically a mobile siege unit that is also ridiculously powerful against soldiers as well as buildings. They're good against just about anything, except for pikemen and the like. Now, the interesting thing is, war elephants are so strong that pikemen actually get an even bigger bonus against them than they do against cavalry. But really, the only reason they do is, without that, the war elephants would just steamroll them too. Not only that, but the elite war elephants, I believe, actually cause trample damage, which means that any units nearby, when they start attacking, actually get damage as well. So, they have a sort of an area of effect attack. These things are ridiculous, and we'll be seeing them a lot in some later scenarios. The Persians are never playable in the campaign, but we do fight them quite a lot, and when we do, we're going to learn to fear war elephants. Especially with their unique technology. Remember how I said that one of the main weaknesses of war elephants was they're really slow? Well, this technology completely eliminates that. Yeah, that is insanely annoying, and believe me, we'll know about that later on. But for the time being, actually, let's just pick a few of these.
Sahi, آماده کنم. Sahi, Sahi, Ari, Chupor, Olufe Jamkon, Chupor.
Okay, I have absolutely no experience with Persian at all, but apparently the developers actually suspect that they may have just been given modern Persian to work with rather than medieval Persian, but still. Anyway, I think that's enough for this, and I'll see you with the next game type. Now it's time for the final game mode, Defend the Wonder. For this, which player number you are makes a very, very big difference. Notice that you can't choose a starting age for Defend the Wonder mode. Now, for this one, I'm going to be using the Spanish. There are two reasons for this. Both of them are to show that despite this game being very well historically researched, there are a few anachronisms here and there. The Spanish have two glaringly obvious anachronisms. One that will become apparent once I click Start Game, and the other that will become apparent once we actually see what their wonder looks like. But yes, this mode I finally get a chance to talk about how wonders work, so let's go. I always found it kind of hilarious how the Spanish riff just kind of cuts off there. But anyway, the Spanish, the Spanish theme is this looks like a forest map to me. The Spanish theme is essentially flamenco music. However, flamenco was not invented until long after the Middle Ages, so anachronism number one. Anachronism number two. This here is the Spanish Wonder. Every civilization has their own unique wonder, and they're all based off of real-life buildings. The Spanish Wonder is based off the Torre del Oro, or the Gold Tower, which is a real building, and it was built during the Middle Ages. However, see this dome structure on top of it? This was not added until after the Middle Ages. Anachronism number two! Yeah! But anyway, you'll notice that we have a lot of villages. We start with a fully upgraded set of walls all around our city, and not even a scout cavalry, we start with a hussar. Hussars are the final upgrade to the scout cavalry line. So, why is this? Well, if we click on the, you'll probably notice that our town centre looks like an Imperial Age town centre as well. And, well, you can see we're in the Imperial Age. In Defend the Wonder, all players start in the Imperial Age, with all technologies automatically researched. So, yeah. No wait time, no worrying about advancing through the ages, no technology, no research time at all, just plain defense and offense is basically all there is to this mode. Player 1 is the player with the wonder. And in this scenario, which player number you are makes a huge difference in how you play. Player 1 has the Wonder. They are the Wonder player. The Wonder player's job is to defend their Wonder, like the game type says, until the Wonder counter hits 0. Now, this is what I was explaining before. A Wonder, once it's actually built, it needs to stand for a certain length of time. This length of time varies based on how big the map is. The smaller the map, the shorter the time limit. But once this time limit hits 0, the player with the Wonder wins. Instantly. Regardless of how many enemies are left on the map. Yeah, that's amazing. However, your enemies will probably not take this lying down. They're going to go after the Wonder with all of their forces. And that's what the other players are basically going to do in this mission. In this mission type, I mean. So, in Defend the Wonder, player 1 has the Wonder. All the other players are the offensive players. They don't have a Wonder. They still begin in the Imperial Age with all technologies and upgrades researched though. So they can start focusing on building up a massive military force to take down this Wonder. Now, I've actually forgotten what happens if the player 1's Wonder is destroyed. If they have the freedom to build another Wonder, or if they lose instantly. In fact, I can actually find out about that. First, I'll just check where my enemies are. And yes, your enemies automatically start with a full set of walls as well. Well, mostly. This one sort of doesn't really, but they do have walls. And they are Persians. Okay, that's interesting. We were playing as them before. Help me! I'm scared. I'm very scared. Yeah! The offensive players also start with a whole bunch of buildings that are perfectly good for creating units specifically tasked to destroy Wonders. Castles for elite unique units, siege workshops for powerful siege weapons, monasteries for monks to heal. Yeah! They're also building an archery range right here, and they're building a castle right outside my gates! Holy crap! That could be very bad. Well, if these war elephants, elite war elephants by the way, because all upgrades are automatically researched. Seriously, just look at these things. 600, that's a lot of HP. Seriously, they've almost got as much HP as houses. Why are they standing still not doing anything? Elephant traffic issue. They've hit a red light apparently. That's kind of hilarious, but let's see, are they just building up more elephants or something? I don't know. Weird. But anyway. So powerful, war elephants. Very, very scary. Anyway, what I was going to test here is, if this Wonder is destroyed, do we lose instantly, or do we get an opportunity to build another? Let's find out! Okay, we lose instantly. Right, that's good to know. So, I didn't actually know that, because I've never really played Defend the Wonder mode properly before. So, that's good to know. Okay, so the Wonder player really has to defend their Wonder, because if it falls, bang, instant defeat. That normally does not happen in regular games. If your Wonder is destroyed, you just waste all those resources and have lost all that effort you spent to build the Wonder, but you still can continue playing. You can build another Wonder, you can try for a conquest victory. You're still perfectly in the game if you have a Wonder that's later destroyed. Not so in Defend the Wonder. You lose your Wonder, bang, you're gone. It's as if it's your king, basically. So, that is Defend the Wonder mode, and with that, I've shown off all the different gameplay modes of this game. So, with that, I will see you again next time when we continue the campaigns. And now it's time for Ye Olde Fact of the Day.
The Wonder, no!
Well, I had to use that audio taunt sometime. Yes, the Wonder. This is, well, has the potential to be one of the most important buildings you will ever construct. Because, once you do construct it, it's only a matter of time before you win the game immediately. Of course, your enemies will probably have something to say about it, so getting a Wonder actually completed is a pretty tough battle. Firstly, it costs a lot of resources, so you're going to have to devote quite a lot to that. While getting 1,000 wood and 1,000 gold is not that hard, 1,000 stone is actually probably a bit more difficult, considering that 1, you need stone for castles and fortifications, and 2, stone mines don't give as much resources as gold mines do, so getting stone is a little more difficult. Once you do though, it's only a matter of choosing a good location for the wonder and starting to build it. I've already talked about a lot of things about how to go about actually constructing a wonder, so I thought I'd take this time to talk about, if you're on the receiving end, how to go about destroying it. Now, by far, the most effective way to sabotage an opponent's attempt at building a wonder is to stop it before it actually is completed. Once it's just a foundation, it's pretty easy to just be destroyed. All you need to do is just kill all those frail villagers working on it, which is not too hard. And yes, that's why you really want to protect, if you're the player using the wonder, you really want to protect those villagers who are building while they're getting to work on it. So yes, the wonder is at its most vulnerable before it is completed, and that's when most of your attacks should happen. Fast units like cavalry, or unique units like road raiders, unique fast units, I was saying, are the ideal units for conducting quick raids to get in, take out those villagers constructing that wonder, and try and take out that foundation if you can, which shouldn't be too hard. If you do that, your opponent will have wasted massive amounts of resources, and the threat will have subsided, at least for the time being. Of course, if the wonder is actually completed, destroying it gets a lot harder, seeing as it has ridiculously high hit points and an enormous amount of armor, especially that 10 pierce armor, so ranged attacks are gonna actually be... it's going to be pretty resistant. Add to the fact that it's built only in the Imperial Age, which means that your opponent will most likely have researched all of the building strengthening technologies as well, making it even more durable, and you've got a bit of a problem on your hands. And of course the fact that they're probably going to be surrounding it with walls if they have any sense, so that could be an issue. In that case, I'd say the best units for taking out a constructed wonder would be trebuchets. Trebuchets, I haven't actually shown them yet, but they are pretty much the best anti-building units in the game. However, they die very easily to basically any normal units. Basically though, the main benefit of trebuchets is they can fire over walls, and that means that, yeah, no amount of walls or defenses will save the wonder. You can actually fire over it, and long out of range of any towers they've placed around it. And yeah, all in all, trebuchets are very effective. If you can somehow get battering rams into contact with it, then they're really good, but again, they're not as useful if your opponent surrounded it with walls. Of course, the battering rams will get through the walls very, very quickly, but if your opponent has any sense, they will most likely have had a whole bunch of swordsmen ready to deal with any battering rams. And yes, so again, back to the other side. If you're the one with the wonder, you really want to make sure that you've got units capable of taking out trebuchets and, well, battering rams if they get closer, but mostly trebuchets. Cavalry are incredibly good against trebuchets, so I would highly recommend having a bunch of them ready to attack. And again, switching sides again, if you're the player opposing the wonder, you might want to build up an army and attack in addition, use your trebuchets in support of a large army. That way, your opponent will be too distracted, basically your opponent suffers a bit of a dilemma here. If they focus on your trebuchets, they will have to ignore your large army, which will proceed to slaughter most of their units, and probably even have enough to get through the walls to the wonder itself. If you just focus on the army, then their trebuchets will be able to fire on the wonder unthreatened. So, yeah, probably a good idea to just spam with a lot of units. I know that seems like a pretty basic strategy, but it does sort of work. So yes, if your opponent starts building a wonder, you want to go on the offense immediately. Drop everything you are doing, go on the offense. Now, this could be interesting, because if you have multiple enemies and only one of them is building a wonder, now usually, because only one player needs to build a wonder to win, if it's a free-for-all game, that one player will immediately win the game, so chances are pretty much everyone else is going to form even if they're normally enemies, they're all probably going to form a temporary truce just to destroy the wonder. But if some of them aren't feeling that kind, they might try and take advantage of the fact that people are going to be sending most of their forces at the wonder, and try and conquer a few other towns while they're less defended, so be sure to keep some defenses back in your town just in case anything sneaky like that happens. But anyway, wonders can add a totally different dynamic to a game, so they can be complete game changers. And that's why I kind of wanted to show them, and because we're going to need to learn about both wonder defense tactics and anti-wonder tactics for the campaign mode. But there's something else I wanted to talk about wonders too. You see, wonders are completely unique when it comes to buildings in this game, in that I've said before that every civilization generally doesn't have their own unique building style. They're divided into several rough categories, and each of those is based on a particular area, and they always just have the same buildings as any other civilization in the same, general geographic area as them. Wonders are the exception. Every single civilization's wonder is completely unique to them. Every civilization has a completely original wonder. All of them are different, and I've said the same thing 3 times, but I don't really care. It is an amazing feat on behalf of the developers, because you can tell they did a lot of background research. Not only does every civilization have their own completely unique wonder, but every one of them is based on an actual real-life building. Yes, all of them are based on something that really existed historically. In fact, many of these buildings that were the basis for the wonders in this game still exist in real life, and I'm going to go ahead and actually show off all of them now. So this video may take a bit longer, but I hope this will prove interesting. Again, most of these buildings really do exist in real life now, so yeah, in fact, some of you watching may have been lucky enough to have actually been to some of these places. I've actually been to at least one of them. But anyway, here they are. I'm going to be covering the civilizations in alphabetical order. Includes the 5 new ones added in the Conquerors expansion, but I will put the civilizations added in the Forgotten at the end, because, yeah, they're all added later. So anyway, let's get right to it. The Aztec Wonder is the Great Temple of Tenochtitlan. Now, sadly, this one has been destroyed today. It was constructed sometime after 1325, and it was destroyed by the Spanish in 1521. However, the archaeological site of it still exists nowadays, just a little northeast of the main plaza of Mexico City. And it's still a historic site today, even though the building itself is gone. The wonder for the Britons is Hagia Cathedral. Now, forgive me if I pronounce some of these wrong. Yeah, just bear that in mind. But anyway, it's frequently referred to as the Imperial Cathedral, and it's the oldest cathedral in Northern Europe. The weird thing is, it's actually located in Germany, and it's mostly been associated with German kings rather than British or English, so kind of an interesting choice here, but yeah, it actually does still exist today in the town of Aachen in Germany. The Byzantine wonder is Hagia Sophia, which comes from the Greek word for holy wisdom, which is, well, it was once a Greek Orthodox church, then an imperial mosque when the Turks took over Constantinople and made it Istanbul, and it's now a museum. It's presently located in Istanbul, Turkey, which, as most of you know, used to be Constantinople before the Byzantines got conquered. Interestingly, it was apparently, contained many holy relics during the Middle Ages, but you can't actually store any relics in it in-game. The Celtic Wonder is based off of the Rock of Cashel, which exists in Cashel in Ireland. It's also known as Cashel of Kings or St. Patrick's Rock. It was pretty much a castle and was the site of several kings, and nowadays it's still well known as a source of Celtic architecture, basically. It does seem to mostly be in ruins nowadays, but the Age of Empires version seems like a recreation of what it might have looked like back when it was still intact. The Chinese wonder is the Temple of Heaven, which is a complex of religious buildings situated in the southeastern part of central Beijing. Emperors of the Ming and Qing dynasties would go there for annual ceremonies of prayer to heaven for good harvest. Now, there's an interesting thing about this wonder. This is the only wonder from this game, Age of Empires 2, that was actually in Age of Empires 1. Back then, it was the wonder for all Asian civilizations. So, yeah, none of the other wonders from the original game actually are still in this one, except the Pyramids of Giza can be found as a prop in some scenarios. But other than that, yes, this is the only carryover from the first game, which is interesting. The Franks' wonder is Chartres Cathedral. Now, again, apologies if I'm pronouncing that horribly wrong. Just a heads up, I am terrible at pronouncing French, so anyway. But it is a medieval Roman Catholic cathedral located in Chartres in France, about 80 kilometers southwest of Paris. And this one, yes, it still stands today, and in fact, miraculously it managed to survive World War II, when some American soldiers managed to actually convince people not to destroy it, so that was pretty lucky, I must say. The Goths' wonder is the Mausoleum of Theodoric I, which is pretty much exactly what it says. Interestingly enough, it was actually built by Theodoric the Great, one of the Gothic kings, during his own lifetime. He basically decided that he'd plan ahead and basically have his own tomb built for the future. And yes, it currently exists just outside Ravenna, Italy. Now this one I actually find kind of amusing. This is the Huns Wonder. And yeah, the Huns weren't exactly, well, really part of a whole, fine culture or architecture group, really. So, their wonder is the Roman Arch of Constantine, but completely defaced and piled high with stolen loot and the like. It's actually kind of funny, I do quite like this one. But yes, the Roman Arch of Constantine, of course, does exist today, situated between the Colosseum and Palatine Hill. Built in the year 312, which actually makes it one of the oldest wonders in this game. The Japanese wonder is Todaiji. Now, most people refer to it as Todaiji Temple, which is actually a little redundant considering that Todaiji, the G actually means temple. So, if you're saying Todaiji Temple, you basically are saying Great Eastern Temple Temple. So, yeah, kind of redundant there. Anyway, this, of course, is a Buddhist temple complex located in the city of Nara, which was Japan's capital at one point. And inside, it houses the world's largest bronze Buddha statue. And if you're wondering which of the wonders in this game that I claim that I've actually seen in real life, this is that one. I saw it on a tour to Japan back in my high school days. The Korean wonder is, well, I'm sorry, there's no way I'm actually going to attempt to pronounce this because I have a feeling if I did, I would end up horribly offending any Korean people who are having to watch this. So, yep. I'll just say its translation. Its name means either Golden Dragon Temple or Emperor/Imperial Dragon Temple. It is a former Buddhist temple in the city of... Oh, great, I'm going to horribly butcher this too, aren't I? I'll just flash the map up on the screen. It's in South Korea, and it was completed in the 7th century. It's made almost entirely of wood with no interlocking design and no iron nails, which is pretty amazing, actually. The tallest wooden structure in the world at the time of it was constructed. Unfortunately, this one doesn't exist today. It was burned in Mongol invasions in the year 1238, so... that's... yeah, kinda sad. The Mayan Wonder is the Temple of the Great Jaguar in Tikal. Now, unlike the Aztec one, this one does still stand today. And it's, it's in the heart of a World Heritage Site. And it's, yes, in a place called Tikal, just north of the plaza in its North Acropolis. So, yep. Luckily, this one actually does survive today, which is a good thing. The Mongol Wonder is an interesting case. This one isn't actually based off any real building that we have any direct sources of, or a real building that exists today. In fact, there's absolutely no reason this building would exist today, considering that it was just a temporary tent. The Mongolian Wonder is based off of medieval artistic depictions of Genghis Khan's tent, which apparently was golden, but yeah, that's all we really know. Of course, all of the depictions of the tent that we have are probably just stylized, and that's why the Wonder looks so incredibly extravagant, but yeah, it's supposed to be Genghis Khan's tent. It actually does play a role in one of the campaigns, which we'll be seeing later, but yeah, this one we don't have any actual comparative real-life pictures of, because, well, there weren't any. We've only got artistic depictions to go on here. The Persian Wonder is Tak-e-Kisra. I'm not really sure if... I'm pretty sure I didn't pronounce that right. But anyway, this one is mostly in ruins now, but it does still stand as the largest brick-built arch in the world. It's located near the modern town of Salman Pak in Iraq. Yeah, this one was probably a palace for a king of some kind, but it's actually a little mysterious. We don't really know all that much about it. We know it was constructed after a campaign against the Byzantines in 540 AD, but most of it has been destroyed now, so the Age of Empires version seems to be a possible recreation of what it might have looked like. The interesting thing about this place is that Roald Dahl, of all people, you might know him as the writer of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, actually managed to take a photograph of this while he was working with the RAF, and the photo actually won a lot of rewards, so that's actually kind of interesting. The Saracen Wonder is the Great Mosque of Samarra, which was a 19th century mosque located in Samarra, Iraq. Most of the mosque complex has been destroyed by modern times, but the actual part that's depicted on the Wonder itself does survive today. It is what's known as the, I think it's minaret. I don't think that's actually an Arabic word, it's just an approximation of a word from Arabic in a different language. But it's generally the main architectural spire of a mosque. That's what's depicted on the Wonder itself in this game, and that is the main part that does survive today. The top part was apparently damaged by a bomb during the Iraq War, but other than that, it does still perfectly survive nowadays. The Spanish Wonder, which I've already showed you, is based off the Torre del Oro, which means Gold Tower, basically. I've mentioned already that it's a little anachronistic, and I guess I'll just reiterate this. Now, the vast majority of this tower did exist during the Middle Ages. It was constructed in the first third of the 13th century, and it served as a prison back then, which kind of explains why it looks like a bit of a big fortified tower. It kind of worked like castles sort of did in this game, really, that it was divided into 3 levels, and it was sort of fortified, and like archers could fire at the top of it. The thing is, though, the actual dome portion that's up the top, that dome bit wasn't added until much, much later on. And that's why the Wonder is actually a little anachronistic, because basically most of it is relatively fine. It did exist back then, but that final tower with the dome on the top was not added until long after the Middle Ages were over, so yep, anachronism. Anyway, the Teutonic Wonder is Maria Lach Abbey. I hope I pronounced that right. But anyway, it is an abbey situated on the southwestern shore of Lake Lach in the Eifel region of Germany. This place has kind of an interesting history, in that it was secularized in the 1800s, and then it got taken over by another religious institution, and then, well, apparently it was a source of controversy during World War II, because some people think that some of the people there may have collaborated with the Nazis, but Anyway, it's still revered as a great example of architecture regardless. The Turkish Wonder, which I would have shown in one of my random map games if it weren't for the AI trolling me, is the Sultan Ahmed Mosque, which is a mosque in Istanbul. It's popularly known as the Blue Mosque for the blue tiles adorning its walls and interior. It was built from 1609 to 1616, so that's actually a little later than most of the wonders built in this game, but anyway. This wonder actually shows up quite a lot in the campaign modes. It's generally used as a generic mosque most of the time, despite the fact that it is based off of a real-life building. So that's kind of interesting. The Viking Wonder is the Borgund Stav Church, which is located in Borgund, Norway. And I was surprised to find out that this one actually still exists nowadays. In fact, its Wikipedia page seems to imply that it still functions as a church even now. It was built sometime between 1180 and 1250 AD. And now we move on to the 5 civilizations introduced in the Forgotten expansion only recently. Yes, even though this started out as just a fan-made expansion, they still did their research. All of these are indeed based on real-life buildings, so let's show them. The Incan Wonder is primarily based off Cuzco's Temple of the Sun in Machu Picchu, but it takes inspiration from other buildings there as well. The Indian Wonder is Gol Gumbaz, which I probably pronounced wrong again, which comes from Persian meaning rose dome, which is a reference to the rose and lotus petals that surround the dome at its base, which makes it look like a budding rose. It's a mausoleum of Muhammad Adil Shah, the Sultan of Bijapur, and this tomb is located in that same region that he was Sultan of in India, and was completed in 1656. The Italian Wonder is St. Lawrence Cathedral, which is located in Genoa in Italy. It was founded, apparently they don't have an actual date, but probably in the 5th or 6th AD, and devoted to St. Sirius, the Bishop of Genoa. Later on, a church devoted to the 12 Apostles was built, which was in turn flanked and replaced by a new cathedral dedicated to St. Lawrence, which is what we know the whole cathedral as dedicated to today. The Magyar's Wonder is Hunyad Castle, or Corvin Castle, which is a Gothic Renaissance castle in the region of Transylvania, Romania. Its design in this game actually looks very similar to the design of regular castles from the Magyar civilization, and it's pretty clear that even their normal castles were in fact inspired by this one. But then again, this is a wonder, not a castle, so it won't actually shoot at enemies, even though in real life it actually was a castle. I'm getting confused now. Let's move on to the next one. The Slavic Wonder is Kizhi Pogost, which is a historical site dating from the 17th century on Kizhi Island, which is located on Lake Onega in the Republic of Karelia in Russia. And it includes a church. There are actually several buildings here in real life, and the one that this wonder is based off is known as the Church of Transfiguration. Amazingly enough, this entire thing is built completely out of wood, although in-game you still have to pay 1,000 stone for it. Phew, that is a lot of wonders. Now you can really see just how thoroughly the development team of this game really did their research. I really have to hand it to them. This effort is amazing, all for one unit type. They could have easily done the same thing that they did back in Age of Empires 1, and just give every architecture style its own generic wonder. But no, wow, this is amazing. They've managed to actually give a unique wonder for every civilization, all based off real historical buildings. Just I honestly can't compliment them enough. This is amazing. But anyway, with this out of the way, next time on Age of Empires 2, we will be kicking off this game's campaigns proper. See you then!